On the Zero Wasted Days podcast, I want to inspire you to push the boundaries of what's expected in your life and your business, to challenge norms and your growth edges, and to go after the most audacious dreams, because I've seen for myself that anything is truly possible when you have a vision and are ready to go after it. Are you ready to jump in? Let's go. Hello and welcome back to Zero Wasted Days. So this week's episode is a little bit of a special one. I am bringing you an excerpt from the annual vision and planning workshop that I ran not too long ago. I have had some amazing feedback, and people who have purchased the workshop have found it to be super helpful to really help them infuse belief into their plans that they're creating for their businesses and belief into the vision that they have for their business and for themselves. What it also does is helps take you through the annual planning method, which is a proprietary method that I have created just for women to help you reach your goals with so much more success. It is going to help you truly ignite your content, your sales, your brand with a new fire in your belly. Because we know that you can have all of the strategy, but if you don't have actual belief in where you're going, it's going to be really hard to turn up for your business every single day. I know my clients are getting real measurable results by having actionable goals, having so much more focus, and knowing what their priorities are, both with this belief as well as an actual plan for their business. I'm also really excited to introduce the Annual Vision and Planning Bundle, which bundles this workshop, this powerful workshop, together with the Annual Almanac. And so you can find the link to that bundle inside the show notes or wherever you might be watching this podcast. It is a super powerful way for you to take that belief and take the newfound energy that you have for your business this year and combine it with the ultimate 30-page planning template that's going to help you piece together all of your brand building foundations, give you all of the worksheets to keep you accountable, keep you focused, and keep you working towards your goals for this year. So I really hope that you love this bundle. There's so many of you that are already grabbing it. And if you have any questions, I am here for you. You can find me in my DMs, my inbox, and I really look forward to you being able to dive into this little excerpt from the workshop, and if you are interested, diving into the bundle itself.
The first principle, the first part of the annual planning method is that it really is time for us to think of our plans for next year, for this month, for whenever, and to plan and schedule in a way that actually honors our genetic makeup as a woman. Women are wired to function on largely on a 28-day cycle. Sure, it might be 24 days, it might be 32 days, but largely we function in a 28-day cycle. And we ebb and flow with the cycles and the seasons around us. We are not designed to always be on, which is effectively what a 24-hour calendar is designed for. So when we grow up in a world and a system that is patriarchal, it's been designed by men. From a young age, we start to learn that it is good and we are pleased, and the world around us is pleased when we are always on. And this is really the one mode many of us learn as we go through school, we start working, we become mothers in some cases. And the ancient ways of our foremothers got really lost. Before we use the modern calendar where women and men used to ebb and flow with the seasons, the calendar wasn't around, and they watched the moon on a monthly basis to determine really what work needed to be done and maybe if it was time to rest. Instead, we have replaced it with this always on culture that really doesn't value rest. And even women in my world who now form in their schedule, rest forms part of their schedule, they still say to me, I still feel guilty. I still feel like I should be doing something. But we need to be able to value these down seasons and these cycles. And we all know how much, as humans, we mimic nature. For anything to blossom, it has to rest. And I look outside right now and the trees around me are losing their leaves. My garden is looking pretty tattered. It's looking pretty dormant. And even my garlic bulbs that I planted about a month ago are resting and soaking up the nutrients that they need to start growing again in spring. Without rest and cycles, the ebbs and flows of life, something drastic happens. And what I see happen in both men and women, but largely the women that come into my world after especially having worked in corporate, they work themselves to exhaustion and are burned out. And this is what happens. They have low grade anxiety, maybe high grade anxiety, stress. Our health and bodies give them signs that are largely ignored. And I know it too well because this is the situation that I got myself into after I left my corporate job and started my own business. I went right into the mode that the only mode that I knew, which was to hustle and to go and to not ebb and flow. And there was only one mode, and that was on. And I burned myself out after about 3.5 years of that. So one of the solutions and the first principles to the annual planning method is really our approach to time and energy. It is really about being intentional and purposeful with our time, with a finite energy we have every single day. And not just for the power of doing less, but the revelation that what actually happens when you start to manage and harness your time and energy is that you actually start to experience more. We're not talking more stuff because most of us don't need more things. We're talking more presence in our lives. We're talking the need for richer memories that we can actually savor. We need more wealth in the hands of you women because we are powerful beings when we have money. And we also need to slow down and live our lives more. The best bit is that when we adopt this cyclical, seasonal way of living, where more doesn't equate doing more, we actually get better results. I've been teaching this to women for the past few years after adopting it myself, and I can't tell you how powerful the results are. And because I'm a life first business mentor, I measure results based on increase in revenue, engagement, community, size of email lists, but I also measure an increase in happiness, in joy, in gratitude, in fulfillment. And that is the real rich list. So when we break down how to do this and start to practice it at a granular level, which in our case is daily, and start to lean into the ebbs and flows and start resisting downtimes and feeling guilty when you're doing nothing, we rest and actually start to put it up the value chain, this amazing thing happens. We start to actually flow. We start to get more creative. We start to use those times when we are more creative. We actually feel better in our bodies. We feel better in our minds. Our relationships improve. Our self-love improves. Our health improves. And so it's no surprise that our business's bottom lines also start to improve.
Don't forget, the annual vision and planning bundle is now available inside the link in my show notes. If you are ready to start planning and want to learn completely new ways to manage and harness the energy that sits behind your vision and then actually apply it to your strategy, then this bundle is for you. You can grab it for $55 and put it into action straight away into your business, and I know you will start seeing the results this month, this quarter, and this year.
You're probably sitting there saying, okay, how do I actually do this? It absolutely takes intention. Remember, I said we've been wired this way for a long time. And so it takes intention and bringing the importance of this into our consciousness, which is what we're going to be doing here and what you're doing here right now. You're starting to think of this. And because we are largely kind of subconscious beings and we operate on autopilot so much of our lives, we have to really think about this at first. Now, when this is done, I'm going to send you a powerful tool that I have developed called the Soulful Schedule. And this is a weekly planning tool. Now, you can take the best bits of the Soulful Schedule and make it a part of your own. I've got no issue with you doing that. I'm not here to give you a schedule that you have to use to only make this work. But this is a really powerful planning tool and has changed the way that many women, including myself, value their energy and their time and plan their weeks. The Soulful Schedule is a tool that people use on a weekly basis to, on a Sunday or on a Monday, I suggest doing it, to bring consciousness and awareness to what you're doing that week, but not just what you're doing, how you're being, and what your body and your mind and your soul requires of you only in that week. Because you can see it's blank, you fill in what week it is and what's going on for you with your cycle and with whatever else is going on. So we're going into December right now. You might say, oh my gosh, I've got like kids' concerts and I've got Christmas parties and I've got all sorts of different things happening. You take into consideration all the things that are happening in your business, in your life, and then you actually ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And you might be feeling a little bit like, oh, how am I actually going to fit it all in? And how do I want to feel? And if you want to feel excited or inspired or motivated or calm, maybe you're starting to taper down the end of the year, then you actually consciously write those things out. And you can see there's a section there that says, what's going on in your mind, your body, your heart, and in the universe? How do you want to be? What do I need to be this week in order to then do the things that I need to do? I'm not going to go into too much of the making priorities and focus and all that kind of stuff. I just really want to open up this idea and this concept of approaching each week by thinking about how you want to be. And you really do need to do this at this granular level, because like I said, if you don't actually write these things down, they don't come into your consciousness, and then you can't actually change them. If you look on this other page here where it has the energy and activity tracking, you can see the different phases that you generally go through in a month. And generally, women will cycle through these rough cycles of weeks. It's not totally weeks, but whether you get your period or not, you will usually go through this kind of cycle. So there are times when your body hormonally wants more rest. And this is usually dictated for women based on hormones. And like I said, this is the case whether or not you cycle or not. So there are usually time for rest that is around your menstrual cycle or the time when you used to cycle. And that is like a new moon time. There are times when you come out of that phase and it's really, you're starting to feel the creative juices. And that's normally in your follicular phase, that planting seeds. Then we come into that like full moon stage where you might be ovulating or similar kind of stage hormonally, and you're starting to shine. And then after that, you are finding your creative flow. I find myself very creative in both the seed planting time and the creative flow time, so the follicular or luteal phase. If you don't cycle, what I suggest doing is tracking your energy. You'll see on the Soulful Schedule, and do this anyway, actually tapping into and learning how your own energy ebbs and flows is really powerful, because after a while, even though I use my Soulful Schedule, this is 3 or 4 years on, I know how I'm going to feel on a weekly basis because I've been doing this for so long. But you can give yourself a little rating out of 1 to 5 in the morning and in the afternoon, and do this for a month. If you can do it for more than a month, you'll start to see the trends. You'll start to see the weeks when you're feeling lower. You'll start to see the weeks when you're feeling really creative, and you'll really start to get some data, and data will give you information that you can then analyze. And so this is what I use on a weekly basis to bring intention to my energy. I'm going to go into a couple of other parts of the Soulful Schedule, including goal embodiment, in a couple of minutes. But really, that is what I want you to think about with your time and your energy, is about the fact that it is not just about time slots, filling a calendar. It is about how you're showing up and who you're being on a daily and a weekly basis, because you're juggling all the things. And it's so important to look at it on a weekly basis, because this week is going to be different to next week, and next week is going to be different to the week after. So on a monthly basis, when we use this approach and we look at our month that's coming ahead, you're looking at, say, January, you can actually plan downtimes more intentionally. You can maybe know when you're going to be on your cycle, when you're going to get your period, or when you're going to just start to feel a little bit of that higher progesterone, so more of that like low time where you need to rest. And we can also find times where we are on, And when you are on, and when you know and you can plan for that, they are so much more powerful. It's a bit like my garlic conserving its energy to grow in spring. You conserve when you need to on a monthly basis, and then you grow and blossom and bloom when you need to shine. And if you don't rest when you need to rest, it's going to be hard to actually really shine when you need to. And like I said, if you cycle normally, this is easy to track, like I said, around your period. But if you don't cycle anymore or are on birth control or anything like that, or maybe menopausal, you can track your energy and how you feel with the Soulful Schedule. You can also track your temperature. There are amazing tools like the Aura Ring these days, and you can see like when people track their temperature to get pregnant. It's the same sort of thing. And so really tuning in and using your body as a tuning fork to how you feel. And then on top of that, when you start to layer your business and your output and your tasks and all of the stuff that you need to do, you will be able to ebb and flow so much better without resistance. Now, I also really encourage you to look at your year ahead and to think of, I talked about the weekly cycle, I talked about the monthly cycle. There are seasons, there are quarters, there are ebbs and flows. We're not always meant to just be like always on, going for the whole year. And looking at your next year and intentionally scheduling downtime, at least a week of time, if possible 2, because we all know that when we're going before a holiday, that it takes us a few days to actually start to relax on a holiday. So if you could have 2 weeks, it really helps everything, helps your body, helps your mind, helps your nervous system. I now take a month off in the summer and many 2-week blocks of slower time when my kids are on school holidays. And that is such a privilege and such a luxury for me now. I have another colleague, a peer, who takes all of December off and all of July or August, I can't remember. July, I think it is off. Like she shuts down completely. She even has a membership that continues. And she's not in the membership. Her membership knows. And she takes those entire 2 months off. She has one-on-one clients that work with her for 12 months, but they know that they only have access to her for 10 months. She's created her business around downtimes, and it works for her. And it is a beautiful thing. And she's not even on social media. She deletes the Instagram app for all of July and all of December. The other beautiful byproduct to scheduling for more rest and being intentional with our energy and our time is that it affects how we feel about our business. Because when we give ourselves permission to not always be on, and we plan this into our month, there is a lot less, and I've seen evidence of this, of getting stuck in your head, or those days where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Or feeling that doubt and the really low troughs that you might feel, and that questioning and getting stuck in your head at every move. You flow so much better, and your business thanks you for it with an energy that stays more consistent. Because if we're doing this, what do our people feel? What's our vibration? It's this, up and down and up and down. Whereas if we are just beautifully flowing and in more even keel, what happens to our energy? It attracts so much more into our life.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Zero Wasted Days. I truly appreciate you being here, downloading the episodes every single week, and listening to me in your ears, on the go, wherever you might be listening. I also really love all of the feedback that many of you are giving me inside Instagram, on Facebook, and here on YouTube. I always appreciate when you share, when you review, and when you rate my podcast. It really just gives me the feedback that what I'm talking about is resonating with you. It tells me which episodes actually that you guys love more than others potentially, and it helps me be able to keep creating in a way that is in alignment with what you're after. But I really appreciate you being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next time.